Welcome to Flying Wombat TV, the channel all about beer, banter, and bloody good times. And today is the result, Philly versus Kettle Sour, which is actually the best sour between the two. We know that there's funky sours using Brett and that kind of stuff, but that's not what this video is about. This is Philly versus Kettle. We're gonna fill up some glasses and then we're gonna taste these and you guys the final verdict.
I'm keen to see how your very first Kettle Sour has turned out.
It was fun. Yeah. It was fun. Very keen to do more of them. But I'll save this chat for the results. So see you in a sec. We're back. We have beers, and already there's a strange thing that has happened. But first, no, we'll talk about the strange thing. They're different colors.
Yeah.
They shouldn't be. So that's one of them.
Why
superimposed here, which one it is.
Why shouldn't they be?
This is the other one. Because they had the same cherries going into both. The same amount of cherries went into both. Both fermenters were at the same volume. They had the same brew day. It's the same word. It's just a split batch. Even the initial starting gravity was identical between both.
This one's way more hazier. Yeah.
This one is way darker.
It's darker.
This one is way lighter. They both had 0 oxygen transfers. There was nothing wrong with that. It's not oxidation. It's just one, for whatever reason, took on way more color from the cherries than the other one did.
That's very interesting.
Don't know why. Everything about this, they were done the same way. Odd, very odd. Now, taste both. Tell me which one you prefer, and then I'll say which one each is.
Ooh, that's nice.
That is pretty good.
Ooh, this one has a lot more sour to it.
Okay.
I think this is your one, the kettle.
Which one do you prefer between the two? Based purely on flavor and just overall sour beer. Which one has the best overall impression on you? Before I say anything about which is which.
I think I like this one better. I think this one has a bit more sourness to it in the aftertaste. This one has a bit more of that fruity cherry flavor coming through.
That one's the Kettle Sour.
Holy shit.
The Kettle Sour is better.
Wow.
The Kettle Sour is also lighter. If anyone of you can tell me why that might be, I'd love to know. I don't understand why the Philly Sour would be a darker beer if it's the same wort, same amount of cherries, exact same type of cherries. It's odd. It's super odd.
I'm assuming you
prefer the
this
Kettle
one as well.
The Philly,
you get a lot more fruitiness in this one. Hey.
A lot more fruitiness. The sourness it feels more complex. It doesn't feel so one-dimensional. It feels more well-rounded. Like, it's a weird thing to explain because sour is sour, but
this one has its sourness coming in that aftertaste. More than it doesn't.
That's true. This one's sour from the very moment it touches your tongue all the way through the aftertaste. This one is almost like, it's almost like a wheat beer and then the sour comes later. But but it's like, it tastes flat. It's not flat, it's bubbled, but it's like the wheat beer component tastes flat. And then it has like this slightly funky, not amazing aftertaste.
The aftertaste is a little bit confusing to me. I don't know.
Yeah.
When tasting that and then tasting this, like I'm trying to flash back to the raspberry, how that tasted.
So here's
with the because that was a nice beer, but then
the original raspberry is unreal. I think the original raspberry is still my favorite.
This is very good though.
It is very good.
This gave me flashbacks of the raspberry, like first taste. First time tasting the raspberry.
Yeah. I love the color. The color is unreal.
That is a real. It looks. If you don't know what a fire engine is, this is what it looks like. Exactly.
Yeah. So a fire engine is it's creaming soda, right?
Yeah, it's creaming soda.
Yeah. Fire engine.
Pink lemonade, basically.
Pink lemonade.
Yeah.
Odd. Yeah. So here's the thing I think about Philly Sour that I do want to discuss.
Really nice beer.
Philly Sours, for whatever reason, sometimes have this not amazing aftertaste. I've noticed it in. I think I've made, 4 Philly Sour beers now, maybe 5. Yeah. I think I've noticed it in half of them, they have this slightly odd, almost like stale beer quality to them. Like okay, if any of you have ever used a fresh wort kit, or if you've made like a hot cubed beer and the wort has sat for a couple days before it gets fermented, wort gets this weird like stale quality to it, almost like stale bread, but not quite. It smells kind of dank, but it's not dank. It's just stale wort. It tastes like that smells. Like the beer tastes kind of weirdly stale and odd and not quite right, and then the sour note kicks in. But I've only noticed it in half of them. Maybe those Philly sour packets were a bit older and the fermentation just wasn't as healthy, and this is an off flavor I'm tasting. But you know what I mean?
Yeah. You're getting, it's all in that aftertaste. You're getting that weird.
There's that weird.
It's weird. It's hard to explain it if you're not drinking it.
There it is. It's like stale. It's like stale.
It's something
beer.
wrong with obviously the yeast.
Yeah,
like
it's definitely
how it's bringing that sourness flavor into it.
I suspect maybe the yeast wasn't healthy enough, because the time that I had the best experience with Philly yeast was the very first time I used it. And I remember even in that brew day, I think we recorded on the brew day, I smelt the yeast, and the yeast smelled like an amazing sour. I'm like, wow, Philly yeast smells amazing. Each time after that, I smelled the Philly yeast before I pitch it. It smelled different every time. The last time I smelt it, it didn't smell spectacular. So I have to assume the yeast itself was not in the best condition, and I think that's made some strange off flavors in there.
What pH did you end up bringing this down to? Because it took you, I know, because I wasn't there, but...
Okay, so I need...
You
need my phone. I need stats. I need stats. We'll cut back. And we're back. Transition. We transitioned back.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got the stats. First I'll do ABVs, because there was actually a very slight difference between these, and the ABV ended up higher than I was originally planning. I alluded to this in the actual brew day video itself, but the cherry puree, way high in gravity. It was something like 1.078 or something insane from memory. It actually increased the alcohol of the final beer. I dropped a link down below in that video. I'll drop another one down below in this video, and a calculator that I use when I add fruit to beers. I just went ahead and assumed that the entire fruit pulp was fermentable because I pureed it. I wasn't doing chunks of fruit. So when you do chunks of fruit, the whole fruit is not technically fermentable, but because I pureed it, I reckon it is. I know I'm rambling, but I'm just trying to explain how that calculator works. In any case, the original plan was for these beers to be, what was I originally going for, like 3.9% or something?
Like very low alcohol.
Really, really low, 3.9 or 3.7 or something. With the addition of the cherries, it added so much sugar that the Philly Sour finished at 5%, and the Kettle Sour finished at 4.7. So the Kettle Sour has a little more sweetness to it.
Yeah.
It didn't fully ferment all that extra puree sugar.
That's cool.
That's
nice.
interesting.
That's why you're getting that fruity probably flavor to it.
You get more to it, yeah.
Compared to that one.
So what I would also like to do is do a Kettle Sour at some point that gets fruits added, and maybe add, I'm blanking on what the chemical is, but when you make ciders, you can use a particular chemical, it's an acid, I think from memory, to basically stop fermentation, and you make the yeast drop out of suspension, and then you make the yeast stop being active, so that when you add extra sugar afterwards to sweeten up the mead or the cider, it doesn't ferment that extra sugar. I'd like to do something similar with another fruit sour, so that I can retain more of that fruit sugariness. Yeah,
that's a good
but you did ask about the pHs. You said that the Philly Sour feels more sour.
Yeah.
The Philly Sour finished at 3.9 pH, 3.91 to be exact. The Kettle Sour finished at 3.64. So the Kettle Sour is on paper more sour than the Philly Sour, but it doesn't...
Or it has a more sour feel throughout it. The sourness comes a lot more in the aftertaste.
That one is harsher. This one is much more pleasant. Yeah.
Easier to drink than this one.
Way easier, and like the color is so good. I'm just blown away. Like it's got this beautiful pink head to it. It's like pink lemonade kind of head.
Oh,
like
you're getting that cherry flavor.
Oh
as
yeah.
well.
Oh yeah.
That's just.
Like the ultimate goal would be to make this again, and make it only with fresh cherries. But that would just be so much work and so expensive. It'd be outrageously expensive.
Seeds, bro.
It'd be so many seeds. And I've learned to be very careful with seeds now after my experience making the Imperial Raspberry Sour, because for those of you that don't remember, all the tiny little tiny seeds you get in raspberries, they all settled down to the bottom, into the bottom of the SS fermenter.
Yeah.
Fully clogged like all the TC pipes and everything. It was a massive pain for me to actually rack that beer and get it into kegs. Never again. But
how was this in terms of kegging?
easy.
Easy.
So easy. So
I mean, it was in the buckets.
You guys-
I mean, for it to be in the buckets, it turns out pretty good.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Like I think the temperature probably fermented around 24 degrees Celsius at primary, maybe a little bit higher. No problem for Philly Sour at that temperature. No problem for USO5 at that temperature, which is why I chose those yeasts. And a few days before we went to keg, like I had them on an angle leaning on something. So kind of like the way that the French make champagne, where the bottles get leaned at a slight angle and rotated to make the sediment drop into a little thing. Same thing with this. Basically the sediment shifted to the back and I didn't need any filters.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Oh, gosh.
It's nice.
What about this? This compared to the first raspberry.
I think I still prefer the first raspberry.
Yeah, it's hard.
That first raspberry was something special, and I'm starting to think I'm not actually going to be able to recreate it exactly the same way.
Yeah, yeah.
Partly because that original raspberry was made way higher ABV. There was a lot more malt than there should have been, than that was right for a Berliner Weiss. And I've been making Berliner Weisses more in the appropriate alcohol range since then, so maybe I should have a crack at that. But I also think it was one of those weird things where you just had a magical fermentation that went exactly right and you're not gonna be able to recreate it. But we should revisit it.
Yeah.
I wanna try and make it the exact same way again. It was so good.
One day, one day.
What I would like to know from you guys is, for our next sour, what kind of sour would you like to see us do? Or what kind of fruit would you like to see us add? So if you want us to stick with Berliner Weiss again as the base and add a different fruit, let us know. I think next one will definitely be Kettle Sours. I think I might be done with Philly yeast after this experience. Like the Kettle is just so much more complex and much more rounded mouthfeel. But yeah, what would you guys like to see us do? It's starting to get to me.
I think you can do a lot more with a Kettle Sour, because you can choose a certain pH to like literally stop at.
You can, and you are at the mercy of the lactobacillus, by the way. So if you're aiming for say a 3.5 pH, as soon as lactobacillus in the kettle gets it to there, you need to start boiling. You have no say in the matter about how long it actually takes.
It's
so
a living organism.
if you are gonna do a Kettle Sour, make sure that day 2 and day 3 are free. Make sure that maybe you brew this Friday night, then you pitch, because then you got Saturday and Sunday free if you work Monday to Friday, because you don't know if it's gonna be short or fast. You don't know at what point over that next potential 48-hour window it's gonna hit the pH that you actually want.
Yeah, it was an interesting brew day. A long brew day.
Long brew day, very worth it.
For this result.
Very much want to do this again.
Yeah.
What I also very much want to do is make an imperial cherry sour. And I think I also want to add oats to the imperial cherry sour to like cream up the mouthfeel a little bit, make it a little bit almost like a creaming soda type thing. And then pop it into the barrel that the last sour is currently sitting inside. We need to keg that one. We need to bottle it.
That's gonna happen soon. You'll probably see that soon.
You'll see that very soon. We're gonna bottle that, and then, you know what, I reckon we go side by side. We taste cherry sour next to the barrel-aged imperial raspberry sour, and we see what comes out on top.
Yeah, all right. I think it's good.
I think that's a wrap. We need to go chill because we've had a lot of beers tonight.
We're about to blow up. In a good way.
In a good way. Cheers, dude.
Cheers, guys.
Thanks, guys, for sticking around, and we'll catch you next time. Brew on. Woo. Oh, I'm so happy with that. That's just like delish. It's like so good. It's so good.